We are going to figure this shit out. What's up, everybody? What's up, Zulu? What's up, Jay? All right, so we got a new camera. I wanted to do the live with this thing, but I'm having a bit of an issue trying to get it to connect to my computer for it to recognize it as my camera. So I'm working through that whole process. So it's a little bit, I'm going through the whole connecting it through the computer through Wi-Fi, and it's connecting, but I'm having issues trying to recognize it as like my camera when I pull up the software for the streaming stuff to do this on my desktop. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to stream what I'm on my computer, because I'd like to start doing like reactionary videos with you guys, or like watching stuff that people keep asking me to watch. So I figured, why not watch it on here? So it's a process. Okay, yeah, it's just telling me I'm an idiot. So I feel like I might have to restart this whole thing. Anybody familiar with the Canon EOS? All right, let's try this again. Zulu, would you ever do small amount of firearms content in the future? To be honest, it's not really. There's a lot of, I know you've probably heard of it, it's called GunTube. You have all these YouTubers, from these former soft guys who do all this like shooting stuff, and I feel like a lot of them that's kind of like their niche, their expertise. And while I could do something like that, I feel like it's not really just what I want my focus of this channel to be about, which is, more about like life lessons learned and everything like that. Yeah, there's just much better people out there who are, like that's their focus and stuff like that. Plus, I actually have a couple buddies who, there's a guy who I was in fifth group with. His name was Drew, and he is a firearms instructor. And his company is it's like Bear Solutions. And I know he goes around the country like teaching people. He teaches SWAT teams, pretty much all these like private courses and stuff. So I'd probably just rather leave it to those people and kind of more concentrate on, this other stuff. So, but yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. What's up, everybody? Let's see what we got here. Let me read these chats. Appreciate Caden. Taurus, what's up, man? Aiden, how you doing, brother? Speed, yo, what's up? Clayton Settle, what's up, brother? You look like a guy who loves his stepkids unconditionally. Well, don't even know exactly what that means. If I had stepkids, I might even know what you guys are talking about, but I do not. So the task of this evening is we're trying to figure out this, because I wanted to stream with this thing, and I'm having issues trying to get it. I've connected to the computer through Wi-Fi, but I can't get it to come up right now as the actual default camera for this streaming application, because I want to start doing sharing my screen as you guys are doing it. What's up, Tejas? How you doing, brother? Double chevron. Guess Battlefield 6 is better than the Black Ops. Isn't that what everybody's like? Battlefield just is fucking crushing it, and then Black Ops is, or no, it was Call of Duty that came out, right? Or was Black Ops supposed to come out after that? I don't know. I saw that there was some controversy about how bad Call of Duty is doing. Yeah, see, when you say, guys, when you say weird shit like that, I'm just gonna ban you. Lovely. All right. Good to see you, gentlemen. All right. So, this isn't all super exciting or anything like that, but I really wanted to have this thing ready for this live. But probably have to save it for another time. Where did you get that cap? So this is actually from Barbell Apparel. This is like their giraffe range hat, but they have a bunch of hats, all like range hats. It's um, so it's the clothing line that I have partnered with. They make like athletic clothing, like pretty like really nice. Well, not just athletic clothing. They make clothing for athletic guys. So if you are especially if you've got big thighs, you're like a muscular guy and you don't fit in most normal clothing. They're like one of the most amazing uh, clothing brands I've ever had, and they fit really, really well. And the funny story is, I actually was a member of their Kickstarter in 2014 because I've always had like really big thighs. Because even before I got much bigger, I was a soccer player and I always had big thighs, even when I was like super skinny. And but was always a struggle. Like, if any of you guys, if you've got big thighs, and you're not like fat, like it was always hard because men's stretchy jeans for men was not really a thing back in like 2014. So I remember seeing an advertisement for them, and then they came out and it was like, hey, like I remember they showed pictures of these guys and they were doing like heavy squats like in their jeans, and I was like, dude, that's awesome because jeans just would not fit. Like in order to get the type of jeans that you need that fit around your legs, they would have to be like 4 to 5 waist size higher, and then you're like folding your like waistband. It sucked. So when this company came out, I was like, oh, this looks awesome. So I was like I joined in their Kickstarter in 2014. And then when I started this whole YouTube thing, they reached out to me and they were like, hey, we like your content. Would you like to be, we were interested in maybe having a partnership. And they're like, oh, we can send you certain things. I was like, well, actually, I'm already a customer. And they're like, oh, you're a customer? I was like, yeah. And I sent them confirmation emails that I had been a backer of their company for the last 11 years. And I actually have a bunch of stuff. So, but now that I've basically just had jeans of theirs, but now that I've tried like all the other types of clothing, like I'm just like seriously impressed. So yeah. Yeah. So double chevron, if you like the hat, go on over to Barbell Apparel. I've got like a page on there, like I'm listed as one of their athletes, and it's actually a really nice hat. You know, it's a really nice material. It's like certain hats when you work out and you get sweaty, they get kind of like a weird like sweat stain. You won't get that with these type of hats. So they're like, it's a really nice quality. So. Chaos. I look like I skip leg day, but I hit squats more than anything. No, I feel that. Big thighs don't lie. That's right. Thighs save lives. You know what I'm talking about. Lily, what's up? You look like a baseball player. Well, I used to play baseball in high school. Probably would have played longer, but unfortunately, where the high school I went to, the soccer and baseball was at the same time, so you had to choose one. And I was a much better soccer player than baseball. So, because I ended up going to college for soccer. Fab, what are some post-career opportunities for guys who served in the unit as SIG and commander? Um, there is, so there's a lot of opportunities, right? You can go into SIGINT, you can go into the fields of a lot of the companies that are making the equipment that you use in SIGINT. So that's definitely an opportunity. There's a lot of companies that are doing that. And then for human, there are, you know, if you want to, it depends what, like, do you want to go work for, essentially, do you want to do contracting for the government? Because you can do that, or you can find civilian opportunities or people who are making companies. They either might be civilian contractor or contracting companies for the military, but there are a lot of opportunities in both SIGINT and human, especially outside of the government. Um, because especially in the SIGINT side of things, you have all these companies that are building the equipment and doing the research and trying to find the new methods to do that sort of collection. And they're always looking for new people who have, you know, a new skill set, especially if you've had it in the military. So that's like very useful to them. So that's one of many opportunities. Human, probably a much broader. Your skills can be used in a much broader way. There's a lot of companies that would use some sort of, whether it's CI. Yeah, there's a lot of applications for what you learn in human. If you're ever able to get to the farm, that is like kind of like the pinnacle of human training as far as like being in the government goes. And if you're like farm trained, that opens up a whole lot more opportunities as from a human guy. Let's see here. Zulu, a man with high T, has strong legs. Big man. All right, so let's talk about this. So what position in soccer? I played my entire life until I enlisted. So most of my life I was a midfielder, and then as I got older and I got towards high school and college, like probably U15 to U18, I moved back towards like defense, and I was more of a central defender. Obviously depending on the formation, I probably played like either a defensive mid or some sort of a stopper until my last 2 years of high school. And then I moved back to sweeper. And then obviously when I went to college, I'm not, as a freshman, I'm definitely not going to be a central back. So I was a left back for college. And then I only got to play like 1 year of college before I was hit by a drunk driver going the wrong way down. Rick Wallace, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? So, but I wanted to get everybody's sort of opinion. So one of the reasons why I am trying to set up this camera, one, to have better image quality. Two, I want to start being able to share my screen, and I'd like to start like doing stuff like helpful, either we going over workout programs or concepts, or we start watching videos and we can do some reaction to stuff, because I know a lot of people have asked me to essentially do reactions to certain videos. So I feel like that is the way forward. I've actually had this camera for a while, but I really haven't used it that much, because when I started, I was, wanted to do all this type of content creation before, but I just kept making some excuses, and so I just used my camera on my phone and just started with it. So now that let's be honest, it's been a bit of a crutch, because it's just super easy. Just got my phone, I got a selfie stick, and then that's basically how I've made like 99% of all my content. But now that since I have this nice camera, why not use it, right? And then, and you guys have seen probably a lot of successful YouTubers who you go onto their lives and then it's exciting. There's something good. There's something nice going on, and I think that's something I'd like to get to. And so that's what the main focus is. But I'm going to start being able to have more time, because we are at the end of the polo season. So if you guys don't know, I play polo, like horse polo, not water polo. And it takes up, and the season is the summer, and it basically goes until about this weekend. So for about 6 months, majority of my time is devoted to horses and playing polo, and obviously, outside of work and everything like that. So, um, Feb, isn't OBS for screen sharing? Yes. So I'm trying out, I've been doing some research on the different programs that you could use, and a couple of them that came up was one of them was Be Live, and I think the other one was OBS. So, yeah, yeah, that was the other one. So I watched this video and it's about this lady. She was like, "Hey, if you want to do screen sharing and everything like that, the two programs you want to do is Be Live, which is the most simple one, and then OBS, which is a better one, has more options, but it has it's a little more complicated, which is fine. But I figured because I was trying to get this all done tonight, which is maybe a bit of a you know ambitious task to get done all before we started streaming tonight. So I was like, I was going to do Be Live, but I couldn't get the camera to properly identify as my camera for this computer. Even though it sees it and I can manipulate it from the computer, I'm working on it. So this will be ready for next week. Yeah, so yeah, Nathan Hale. So I was definitely watching those videos, and I've just gotta, honestly, I tried to do this probably about an hour beforehand, and yeah, obviously didn't make it happen, but it's the task for next week. So, but we could do while we're here. So I'm gonna pull up my documents where I like put like lists of like subjects and stuff like that. On my Google Keep, because I use Google everything. I don't use Apple. So we're gonna start a list, and this would be cool if I could share this with you guys right now, so you could see this. But we're gonna use what we can. All right. So let's start a new one, and we're gonna come up with things that you guys would like for me to do during live streams. And all right, so let's create a new one. All right, so let's call this live stream activities. All right, so if you guys start like in the chat, like putting stuff that you think would be cool for like either certain videos like that you can think of for me to react to, or just like going over workout programs or any sort of concepts, because look, and I know there's like a lot of controversy from that, whether it was that dude Pirate Software, but one of the things that I really liked about his videos is he would pull up the little drawing app and he would write out these concepts. I thought that was kind of cool, just be able to visually just bring up what we're kind of talking about. So all right, let's see here. All right, so we do reactionary videos. Mr. McThink, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? All right. All right. What's the one that I kept getting asked for? It was what is it? Is it the Huntress? What's the one with Zoe Saldana? Is it the Huntress? Ooh, Fab, that's a good one. All right, so let's do breakdown on helicopter crashes. Definitely can do that, because obviously I have a lot of opinions about that. Especially, well, unfortunately, there's no shortage of material there, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The Lioness, that's right. Thank you, Feb. All right, so the Lioness. Oh, you know what? So obviously, with anybody who's been in a field, a certain discipline or job or career, and anytime you watch videos about that career, you're hyper critical of it, and so there are definitely a lot of things that I see that I don't like. But one thing I feel like that recently came out, which I was didn't hate, which actually I thought was pretty good, was actually the Terminal List. And I still need to watch. Actually, I haven't finished the first season, but I think it would be cool to either finish the first season or what is it? Second season, which is Terminal List. Was it Dark Wolf? I think it is. Okay. Tejas, maybe reactionary comment on Spec Ops training. How does it compare to reality? Okay. Like, how is it like? How is a soft training useful in real life? So yes I did, because so also, just for you guys who are aware, in probably in a short period of time, I will find out this week, but I'm retiring soon, and once I retire, there are more things that I can discuss, but I can't while I'm still active duty on certain subjects. Um, so some of that might just have to wait a few months, but that's about it. So I just tried to watch a network series of military training. It was trash. A kid looking at that for reference would be misinformed. Do you know which one it was, Teos? Roman the Great, Timu, Kenny, KO, what up? You guys are stupid. Once you get a decent setup, you need to do some collaborative lives with some guys. Yeah. So I'm actually scheduled, once I retire, I'm lined up to do about 3 different podcasts with a bunch of soft guys who have their podcasts and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that, but I need to wait till retire here in the next short period of time. John, person of interest. Is that, wait, let me look that up. I think I actually know what that is. We're looking that up. Oh, okay. So let's see. It's a washed up former CIA agent, presumed dead, who's drinking away his sorrow over the death of his wife. Oh, that could be pretty good. We could definitely try that one. I like that. What is it? Is that Jim? Is that the Caviezel guy from? Oh yeah, Jim Caviezel. That's right. The dude who was um, Counting Monte Cristo. He's a good actor. All right. So we've got that. Okay. Devil Doc. Hey man, did you ever find those Florida SF recruiters? Was waiting on your email. All right, hold on a second. Devil Doc, I'm gonna take care of you right now, brother. Give me 1 second. So let's see. Devil Dog, reply to the email that you sent. Just it's at the top of my email, and if you do it right now, I will send you the stuff right now. Because I've got about 15 unanswered emails right now, and if you go do that, I will answer it directly, and I'll answer it right away. Are you in the Special Force? I am not currently, but I was a member of 5th Group Special Forces. Not anymore. I am essentially retired from that life. Not quite retired from the military, but very, very close. Zulu, can you help me? I'm an aspiring ranger wannabe, and aside from the standards, I've been looking at of ranger-oriented trade programs. I don't know which one is worth it. Well, to be honest, there's a lot of training programs out there. I've seen a whole bunch, and some of them are actually pretty good. Especially because Ranger School, everybody, so much is known about it, and you can prepare quite a bit for it. So, I'm not sure which one would be the best programs. If you want to, like, I could do some evaluations of those particular programs, or just give you, I guess, which one I might think is the best. If you give me like, hey, send me like the top three, and I'll tell you which ones I think are the best. So, and that's also something we could do in here. We could do, let's do evaluations of we'll call them soft prep programs, because as you guys know, there's a lot out there, and some of them are good, some of them are garbage. Boot is the series very unrealistic. All right. Oh, I heard about that. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I heard that thing was, yeah, I heard that sucked. Can you give me a split or some guidance? Yeah, I can. So, Zulu, if you don't, send me an email. So what I'm going to start doing is, because you're not the only person who's asked for this, I'm going to start doing a sort of prep program or prep mentoring for like SOF and different selections, however you want to do. And I'm going to make it a part of the memberships, just because it is going to take up some of my time to mentor. So I figured just put it as part of one of the mentorships. And if you want to be a part of that, you can. And that way it just helps me to compensate for my time. So, but send me an email, and I'll get you connected with that if that's something you're interested. If not, so what's your opinion on Ekram Mango 67 Diddy Blood? I don't think I know what that is. What exactly is that? A show about dystopian AI that predicts pre-crime and former CIA paramilitary. Oh. Oh, I see what you're asking about. Ekram. The Bangladeshi official named Ekram. The meme called 67 Mango. To be honest, I don't know much about it, so I can't really comment on it. But yeah, okay, yeah, definitely workout nutrition. Okay, workout nutrition. All right, let's start with this right now. So if you guys have anything, shit, you know what? This would be so much easier if I could do the split screen. This is definitely, I will have the split screen ready for next Sunday. Oh, and then starting this week, I actually do, because I was, before my 6 week hiatus, I was able to start, I did stream, I think like 2 times in the gym. And I actually, as cringe as it felt, because it felt extremely cringe, I actually kind of liked a lot of the questions I got and a lot of the conversations that we had during those lives. So I definitely want to start doing once a week the workout streams. So probably try to do it for Wednesdays and just call it Workout Wednesdays, I guess. But for workout nutrition, like so some of these I just want to start doing now, but you know it's really hard to if I don't have the split screen. Lily, you having nice eyes and you look a little like Chris Hemsworth. You know, if obviously me being blonde, like I don't think that there's probably especially he's almost the same. I'm almost the exact same size as actually Chris Hemsworth, because I think he's 6'2" and about 220, 230, which is where I sit. So as a blonde guy, you definitely are like, who would be, if I could look like anybody, it would always be Chris Hemsworth. I think the two, like if I could look like any dudes, it would be Chris Hemsworth and Henry Cavill. Like if I had dark hair, like Henry Cavill is like him and Chris Hemsworth are both those some good looking dudes. All right, Double Dock. All right, I got you right now. Look, I'm gonna take care of Double Dock right here, right now, just because that's how we roll. All right, let me pull up this. All right, I got the pipeline contact roster. So I actually reached out to. Interesting. All right, 1 second. I gotta pull this up. All right, so I was lucky enough. So I reached out to, when I first started this, and right before I was going to create that, I created that video about the hidden gem of the SF community, the National Guard Green Beret. I reached out to one of the main recruiters down in Florida, and apparently they were a part of that they filmed that the reality thing of SFRE. And he was like, hey, they were just down here, and I talked to him, and I told him what I was doing, the videos, and he's like, hey, I got you. And he sent me the entire contact roster for all of 19th and 20th group. So I have this spreadsheet. So when you guys email me, this is where I get all the information from. Unfortunately, I only have it on my desktop computer. So Ryan, all right. All right. All right, so Florida National Guard. Let's see what we got here. Florida. All right, here we go. All right, got you. All right, so this is their distribution email. So you're going to send an email to this email, and then you just basically tell them, like, hey, I'm interested in National Guard SF. And email them, and they should basically take care of you and answer any of your questions. And that should be, you should be good to go. And then for some reason, if they do not, I'm giving people initially their distribution emails, and then if for some reason they don't respond, then I can actually then go point to point. But we don't want to actually give them for various different reasons. I don't want to give you guys initially their direct contact info for a number of different reasons. But just use that distribution email, send it to them, and then they'll reach out to you directly, and you should be good to go. That hat makes it look like you're losing your hair. Well, I am not. I actually have a full head of hair. I just, sometimes I just don't want to do it. So, yeah, I don't think I'm losing my hair. So, we can do the old school bro look. Rasp one preferred. Personally, I've used one of Gritty's programs, and I'm fairly pleased with the results. Which one is Gritty? All right, let's put that. All right, we're gonna put this contact roster up here. All right, so it's Gritty. What is it? Gritty what? Gritty prep program. Let's go there. Gritty oh, this dude. Okay, is it the Gritty Soldier Fitness? He's actually one of the few soft guys I've seen his videos. Pretty good. Like, I know he does a lot of ruck stuff. That's probably what I've seen the most of his ruck stuff. Possibly, okay. That's not a bad idea. All right, so Teos said possibly educational basic investment information. So this will be good because if anybody knows, like when you're trying to learn a skill, or like master a new piece of information, or even like a course, or you're going through school, one of the best ways to show mastery of that is after you've learned it, is to teach it. So as I'm going through this sort of certifications and training to become a private wealth advisor, this would actually help me to master that material for me to actually kind of like come on here, and if people ask any questions, I can sort of teach some of these concepts if that's what people want to do. But there's some good stuff in there, like learning how to do options and futures and shorts and different things like that. All right, so as much as I enjoy the hat backwards, it hits the back of this thing and it's kind of annoying. Pedro, what's up, brother? Am I a baseball player? No, I am not. I did once play baseball, and I think with a hat, it probably, makes it look like I'm a baseball player, but I'm not. Emolia, what's up, man? Hey, bro, what's your diet? Aqua risky. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about diets, or however you want to call it. I think some people get a little when you say the word diet, right? Because it really just comes down to it's just nutrition, and you don't have to be on a diet. You just have to choose the way that you want to go about eating, and there's good ways to do it, but essentially you have to understand what your goals are. And if your goals are to lose weight, it is simply thermodynamics. It is calories in, calories out. That's it. That is how you control your weight. All right. That's the simplest, form of it. And then if you want to, obviously, if you want to control what your body looks like, regardless of what your weight is, and then that's where your macronutrients come in. So what I personally do, and I don't necessarily count all my calories. It depends. Like in certain phases, I will get kind of sort of dialed in, and I will like specifically count my calories, or I'll just have a general idea because I'll look stuff up and just have a general understanding of what's in those calories, what macros, which micros, and stuff like that, and sort of plan a general. So, like for example, like someone like myself, my BMR is probably somewhere between like 3,000 and 3,500. So what I try to do is I try to keep in some sort of calorie deficit, probably around like 2,500, and that's what I go for. Sometimes I go up, sometimes I go down. It depends on what exactly I'm doing. But then the main thing is to, once you kind of figure out what your calories are, is just hit protein. I mean, if you just hit your daily protein, like it will kind of like hit so many other different parts of your nutrition. Like for example, your body requires more energy to burn protein than it does other types of foods. So not only are you getting, the proper, macronutrient that you need to, obviously, to build muscle, to, help for recovery, that you are also making your BMR essentially more effective just by eating as much protein. And also, protein is typically like when you eat things that are high in protein, they're usually high satiated like food. So it really helps in so many different areas. Like it helps you to feel fuller. Like if you sit there and you ate a whole bunch of celery, right? Okay, great. Yeah, like low in calories, and then like a lot of the celery, like that's like 90, it's like 86% of when you eat calories, like that doesn't go in your system, right? But you don't feel satiated. So like that's a big problem, because then if you're hungry, then then you're more likely to cheat, however you want to call it, on your nutrition plan or diet or whatever you want to call it. So I personally keep my calories somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000, right? I try not to go above 3,000. And I hit 220 grams of protein a day. So, you want to aim for your target weight in protein. And if you do that, like I'm telling you, just like you're just going to build muscle, your fat is going to drop off, and it's going to drop off, it doesn't just hit one area, but just generally, like your face is going to look a little bit skinnier. Your bone structure is going to start to show more, and you just when you get to this level, like you just feel better. I mean, it's awesome, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And plus, like nowadays, there's such good food. Like there's such good replacements for like good food. Like there's a pizza recipe where instead of like your pizza crust, I make the crust out of chicken, and the whole pizza is like 180 grams of protein, and it has like almost like it's like so low in calories, right? Obviously, there's a little bit of a taste difference, yes, but there's just so many good food that you can now replace that you can still hit those nutritional, like hitting below those calories and then also hitting above those proteins. So Aquarisky, I hope that answered a bit of your question. I know it's kind of long-winded, but obviously I'm passionate about the subject. Frank Zappa, my best friend, was Jewish. How much does height play a factor in Special Forces garrison selection? Absolutely none. Nobody gives about how tall you are. To be honest, being big is not an advantage. It is, I would have to say, it's a disadvantage. The only time that it's really an advantage is it's just kind of when it comes to rucking. If I'm 220 pounds and I'm throwing on 50 pounds of ruck, obviously I'm throwing on a lower percentage of weight. But if you're 180 pounds and you're well trained and you know how to ruck, it doesn't matter. So yeah, height doesn't. And then to be honest, being smaller, you're a smaller target, right? There's much more to hit on a 6'2" person than there is someone who's like 5'8". So, and then, some of these places we go, people are generally smaller. So, some of these houses are made for, and these compounds are made for like smaller people. And sometimes there's like little closets that you have to go into, or little rat holes, whatever you want to call them. And being smaller definitely I would say, has more advantages than being big does. What's up, Vargas? Freedom, baby. Soccer is life. I'm 10. Do you think I should have Insta? To be honest, no. Um, Anybody can do whatever they want, but I feel like social media has a lot of downsides to it. And if you are not like, there's definitely some understanding that a lot of stuff that's put on social media is like kind of fake. And if you don't have the maturity for it, and granted, there's a lot of adults who don't have the maturity, so I get that. But it's just, it is harder because, like that maturity and that sort of like wisdom that you build as you get older helps you to deal with a lot of the pitfalls that you find on social media. Control delete. Why does America have a stockpile of 6,000 nuclear weapons? One word: deterrence. Lily, you speak just English? No, I actually speak Persian Farsi, and I dabble in a couple other languages, and I'm actually teaching myself Spanish right now. Como estás, baby? 19th and 20th is red, dude. Yeah, the National Guard program is pretty. There's a lot of advantages to it, but for it to work for you, you have to know, like it's like, you're definitely not doing it for the money, and you actually don't get the benefits when you're not on deployment or something. So you have to have your own health insurance. You have to have your own, you have to be making money through civilians. So if you don't know what you want to do, like on the civilian side of things, the National Guard's not a good fit, because then you're going to be in a hard place financially. So that's what I always recommend when people ask me about should you go National Guard SF. You should, if you have, if you know what you want to do on the civilian side of things, yeah, it's great. But if you don't, I would say go into active duty, and then just, once you have eventually a concept of what you want to do on the civilian side, then possibly go to National Guard. But you definitely need a job and some way to pay for health insurance if you're going to do. Sure going to take. Me and my wife love your videos. We are having our 10-year anniversary tomorrow. She turns 18 in 2 months. You guys are ridiculous. Look, I might be, I know I talked about in previous videos about my car accident, how I regressed to a second grade math level, but luckily I can still do basic math. If you could do SF all over again, what group would you have chosen if you had the choice? To be honest, it's really hard to beat 7th group because 7th group, one, they're located in Destin, Florida, and their area of responsibility is South America. And, from somebody who was at 5th group who just went to the Middle East when I was there, I would say that the quality of life at 7th group is much better. Plus, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, or what is it, Clarksville, Tennessee, which is the town outside of Fort Campbell, versus Destin, 9-day difference. Plus, I like that area. Controlledly, would you go to war for the current government? Well, if the government said for me to go to war, then yes. But I'm about to retire, so I will no longer have that responsibility. Am I AI? I don't think so. Yeah, Gritty Soldier. I've definitely seen his stuff. Like I definitely, he's actually one of the few that I actually don't even follow that many soft guys, I'm gonna be honest, on YouTube. But I think actually Gritty might be actually one of the few that I follow because I keep seeing his videos, so I must have liked it. Viking, everyone thinks that they're a Viking. Yeah. People can think whatever they want, whatever inspires them, right? You don't have to be a Viking, but if you like some of the concepts, then cool, Like for example, when The Last Samurai came out, who doesn't like samurai concepts? Who doesn't like this concept of, warrior brotherhood, of people who are known for being strong, like there's a lot of attractive things to those types of groups, so. If World War III broke out today, would you still talk about the stuff not as important? To be honest, if World War III, started today, obviously there would be things to talk about, mainly about the war, but you know what? Life still goes on. So I'm sure a lot of it would be about said war, but we would still talk about, what else goes on in life, because that is what life is. You're not. So this is also, and this might be a little bit of a tangent, but one of the people ask me all the time, like, hey, are you going to struggle when you get out? Are you going to miss the military? And always my answer is no. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. And I know for a fact that I'm not going to struggle, because one of the things that people who do struggle when they get out of the military is because their identity is tied to their job. Like their personal identity is like, I'm a member of this military. Like that's how you identify yourself as. And then once you lose that, you now no longer have the thing that you is a part of your identity, and people struggle with that. And I know that when I went through my darkest time is because the like 2 or 3 things that I sort of associated with my identity, whether I knew it or not at the time, started to fail. And then when I was losing those, I was no longer the person who I was my identity. And it really sent me into this like depression spiral. And it took me a long time to get out of it. And when I did, I realized that one of the missteps that I had made was tying my identity to these different things in my life. And now what I try tie what I think is the thing to tie, if you're going to tie any portion of your identity to, is your character, having impeccable character, like being the person who you like. Like one of the things that the biggest compliment that I can always have that I get nowadays is being so like candid and being a man of my word. Like so when people I say I'm going to do something, people know that when I say like that's my reputation. So that's the thing that I always try to do is like what is my reputation? What is my character? And that's what I try to build it around. And I don't tie my identity to anything I do professionally. And I don't even tie it to anything I do as a hobby, right? Like obviously it can influence your personality, but I think the only thing I tie my identity to is my dog. That's probably about it. John, cool, you're describing the Feynman technique. Let's look that up. See, I like when you guys like bring up stuff like this because if I don't know it, it's actually very educational for me to like learn it. Because what someone brought up the other day was the Kaizen principle, which is kind of like doing a little bit every single day, kind of like we're always talking about, like do something 1% better, right? Just do a little technique. And I had heard it, right? But like I didn't really remember it. And then somebody brought up the Kaizen principle and immediately looked it up and I went this whole deep dive. And now it's in here. Now I'm thinking about it, right? All right, so the Feynman technique. Feynman technique is a 4-step learning method where you explain a concept in simple terms to identify and fill gaps in your understanding. Oh, interesting. Step 1, pick a topic to learn. 2, write about it as explaining to somebody. 3, see where you have gaps. 4, simplify your language and analogies. So I think that goes a lot back to what I was saying about earlier about the investment stuff. So because I'm doing the training and certifications towards become a private wealth advisor, that this would help me because I have always done better when I teach techniques that I'm learning. Helps me to master it. Guy looks like Ethan Hawke on steroids. Well, I think I've seen him in a lot of movies. Like, you know, obviously one of his most famous ones is what is it, Training Day. Oh, and what's the one he played? It was like the Western one with Denzel Washington Blair. He played the character Good Night something. I couldn't remember what the last name was. Devil Doc, how's your dog doing, by the way? She's actually doing really well. So as you guys, so she was on Friday. She was, well, Thursday night, she had like this large lump on the side of her neck. I mean, it was like the size of a cue ball. And so when I went and checked it, I was like, and it was hard. I was like, oh, what is this? Because it just really just appeared out of nowhere. So I took her to the vet the next day. And then this was on Friday. She was diagnosed with lymphoma. And then the earliest I could get her into an oncologist was Tuesday. And we started treatment immediately that morning. Well, she came in and talked to the oncologist. They did some more tests to verify that it was lymphoma. And then she basically gave me the treatment options, you know, because lymphoma is a very fast moving cancer. So if I had not treated her, she'd probably have to pass within like 2 months. But luckily I put some money aside in a pet insurance program. So we'll be able to pay for a portion of it. But we definitely did the most expensive, the best treatment out there, which every vet that I've talked to says that instead of her just living for 2 months, she's probably going to get at least 2 years. And she'll actually be in better health. And so, but one of the side effects of being on chemotherapy is that, you know, the dogs could get nauseous or they could have diarrhea, and obviously they were very lethargic. The very first night she was on chemo, like that night she was kind of lethargic, and she was very tired. But the next day, ever since, she has actually been like, she has more energy than she did before. So I was making this joke today at our match that that Callie is like Spider-Man, where he got bit by a radioactive spider, and now she has like superpowers. And so apparently Callie on chemotherapy is it's like making her stronger. So uh, so she's doing really well. She hasn't thrown up once. Because she's been on it for what, almost a week now. So I think like 6 days. Hasn't thrown up, hasn't had diarrhea, and has had a ton of energy. So I am very happy because we caught this in time, and chemotherapy responds, lymphoma responds really well to chemotherapy. So yeah. Smooth Sailor, what's up, brother? How you doing? Jenna, how old are you? I am 40 years old, but I'm actually about to be 41. I turned 41 in less than a month. Guy is in filter mode. Jenna, he's 61. Yeah. Like what filter? I wish if there would be a better filter, because obviously I got bags under these eyes. You know, I moisturize. That's what's up. No big deal. Jennifer, hey, how you doing? Anonymous. All right. Lily, thank you. Thank you for not thinking I look 61. Looks 45. Man, man, you guys are just gonna come in here and isn't the answer, aren't you guys supposed to tell me I look younger than I actually am? You guys are not gonna butter me up like that. It's just rude. Are you taking any other supplements like creatine, others? Yes. So, so Ghost, boxing, and motivation. So, yes. And if I would recommend to anybody outside of obviously, taking protein, creatine is probably your number one thing, because we've always known that it helps improve like strength and gains. Like, typically about like the study is like about maybe you get about 10% increase. But what they've learned recently in the last couple of years is that it has more positive effects cognitive wise. Like apparently it helps you focus, and I like if there was an interesting study about people who are sleep deprived and how their brain is sort of like not as effective, but people on creatine, it could actually help people to fight off the negative effects of sleep deprivation. And there's so many other studies that just about like we're finding so many positive effects of creatine. So even if you're a guy or a woman, everybody honestly should be on creatine. It's amazing. It helps you in so many different paths, not just physically but also mentally. But I also take some other like multivitamins. I take collagen pills and stuff like that. And then I am 41 and I do have decent hair, right? But I was starting to thin a little bit in certain parts of my, like here. So I did start taking finasteride, which helps to block hair loss, and actually has helped out quite a bit. But yeah, other than that, yeah, basically I think it's just creatine really. I don't take anything else. Um, I go in every quarter to get my blood tested, and my testosterone levels are still within normal ranges for somebody my age, so I don't need any TRT apparently. So would I like to get a little bit of an increase? Not be on gear or anything, but maybe get it a little bit higher. Absolutely, but um, Jennifer, I'm married, but I'm still interested. Well, I appreciate that. That's a compliment right there. I'm taken already, and I'm not interested. Bro's not my type. Jenna, well, yeah. Everybody's got, not everybody's flavor, and I'm definitely not everybody's flavor. Um, how does a proper diet and trend for selection work in conjunction? To be honest, what you want. So anybody who's done any sort of endurance events, right? So a lot of selections are going to be more on the side of endurance. And what you need for endurance is one of the things that help you probably the most is endurance is energy. And the most energy you get is from carbohydrates. So if you're about to go to selection, um, I wouldn't really worry too much about nutrition in the fact of like, at least not in the most common sense where like don't be doing a calorie deficit or anything like that. Just like eat to have energy, you know? There's a couple studies about what is the most effective thing, but most of these selections outside of ranger school, they feed you and they basically feed you almost as much as you want to eat, right? Ranger school is like the only one where they kind of starve you. So I wouldn't really worry if you're going to selection, other than the nutrition that you need to build muscle. So obviously making sure you're getting all your protein. I wouldn't really worry too much about that other stuff leading up to it. And obviously you don't want to be super fat. Obviously that's only going to waste. So you want to be as like lean and in shape and strong as you can to be. But then right before like there's a certain good amount that you should be basically storing up your energy and start eating carbohydrates. But it's really not that big of a deal because like a lot of selections, there's like a little bit at the beginning where you're sort of doing like interviews and sort of other things like the first week or first couple days, and then after that, yeah, they feed you well, so you can figure out like you can get all the energy you really need. Yeah, and also yeah, absolutely. Sly Fox UK, the water, absolutely hydration. To be honest, I don't know why I haven't already mentioned this. Yes, drink water all the time. You know, and to be honest, and I'm somebody who grew up like obsessed with sodas, and I had to cut sodas completely out of my life. Luckily, there's a lot of really good like 0 calorie ones these days. So if you need that little fix, you can definitely do the 0 calorie stuff. But yeah, definitely always drink water. Ghost. Oh, okay. Um, Ghost. Are you talking about the chicken recipe, if you will? I don't know how if I can, or I'm sorry, the chicken pizza. I think that's what we were talking about. Yeah. Well, I wanted to do. I think one of my very first streams that I did, or it was like the second one. I wanted to do the stream while meal prepping, but people were like, doing so many questions that I couldn't even concentrate. Like apparently I'm just a horrible multitasker when it comes to this type of thing. So one of the things that we'll try to get better at is maybe we'll do like, hey, these are the recipes I'm going to cook tonight, and we'll just go from there. And maybe I'll just be a little bit better about, not necessarily answering every single question that goes up, and then just doing the cooking itself. So I actually do like to cook nowadays. I didn't always used to. Zulu, like you roll the dough and it's stuffed with chicken. No, so you actually make the crust out of chicken. So what you do is you take a pound of uh, chicken, ground chicken, and then you put an egg in it, and then you literally mix it. You like, you push the egg around into the ground meat, and then you spread it on a pan with parchment paper on it, and then that's what you put as a crust, and then you put it in the oven for like I think it's like 20 minutes just to like sort of already like bake the crust a little bit, and then you take it out, and then you put the toppings on, and then you put it back into the oven, and then it comes out, and it's actually pretty good, especially if you do a style pizza that is like kind of chicken-esque. Like if you did chicken bacon ranch on a chicken crust pizza, it actually tastes pretty good. Harris Pointing, Win a Life King. Thank you for the €2. I appreciate you, brother. That's fucking awesome. Appreciate you. Um, let's see. Uwal, is it Ujwal Kumar? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. What's up, brother? I was actually trying to go to India for a polo event at the end of this month. No, at the end of November, but unfortunately, because Callie got cancer, I'm not going to go. But I was actually going to go to India at the end of November. Um, Growing up fat is the best workout plan for rucking. Well, it definitely, if I have met some dudes who are big dudes who've learned how to move their weight, but yeah. Um, if you lose the weight and then learn that and then start rucking, then yeah, it might be like something comparable. But yeah, just don't be fat. Like, and I was talking to a new guy. There's a new guy. So this weekend was the our annual Commander in Chief Cup, which is we have all four services. They put in a polo team, and we all play each other. So there's a new guy who's from the army. He's actually in the Georgia National Guard, and he's one of the newest players. He's a good rider, but he's still pretty like he's a decent polo player, but he's getting up there, and he's 20 years old, so he's half my age. And we were talking about how he eventually wants to get to be good enough so he could be on the main army team, so like the varsity army team. And we were talking about what things that he should do in life to do as a 20-year-old. And one of the things that I talked about was, and which we've talked about here before, was just putting your head down and working and just doing, getting your career experience. Just go out the like he doesn't know what he wants to do, so this guy's becoming a welder, right? So he's an 11 Bravo in the Georgia National Guard, and he's going to be, because he doesn't want to do what he has to do, and he heard like welding, he learned stuff, so he's taking a welding course, and he's gonna be a welder for like a little bit, and he's just gonna figure it out. And and that's something especially for guys, because we're not born with value, we have to attain it. And your 20s, like that's the time to work on the guy that you're going to be the rest of your life. And one of them is, don't be fat, right? Like your 20s, that's the time that you should be in shape. Because like, yeah, you can be in shape in your 30 and 40s, or get into shape, but I'm telling you, it is like, biological fact that your body starts to deteriorate after like you're like around like your early 20s. So yeah, you can get in shape in your 30s or your 40s, but it's so much easier. You don't have an excuse. Like especially anybody, guys or girls, just be in shape. And it makes your life so much easier, because like when you have a body that people are like impressed with, like that is your physical resume. People treat you differently. We talked about fat privilege versus fit, or fit privilege versus fit privilege and pretty privilege. And whether you like it or not, they exist, and they are a thing for a reason. But fit privilege, I respect you more because at least you had to work to get it. Blake Jeter, yeah, you're a smaller target. Yes, yes, Jenna, I am in the process of learning Spanish. So I have like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little post-it notes on the doors, and that's one of the things. Like when I was learning Farsi, I would put post-it notes everywhere, and I just put it like what they are in that language, and then I would always try to really way to learn how to master a language is you have to eventually be able to think in that language, and so that's one of the things that I did to try to help me to learn how to think in Farsi. For the Guard, SF can eat up a lot of time, and it's hard to balance operational needs with severe civilian careers. Um, it all depends. They don't really like if you're not on a JSET in a deployment, they don't really take up too much of your time. And in my experience, and obviously, okay, so I was never in the National Guard SF, so I only know from other people, and most people that are in it really enjoy the opportunity that it gives versus the amount of time you actually have to spend doing the job. So there's a lot of advantages, but there's some disadvantages, right? And I've heard, sometimes you don't get as much like training time and stuff like that. But to be honest, I would probably say the biggest downside to the National Guard SF is like when missions come down for SF guys, they're going to give most of the best missions to the regular Army SF. But that's not really, obviously you'll get some deployments eventually, but your main focus should be the skills that you're learning from being in SF, from being in 18 series, and also all the training that you're going to get during your training cycles, especially your individual stuff. Yeah, guys, I have to go. I have to scroll down. I'm trying to hit everybody's comment. I could just say screw it and just kind of like skim, whatever. So I'm slow, whatever. Yeah, I think that when I eventually get to when I can have this on my computer in split screen, I'll be able to read these comments much easier because you have to understand on this phone it's really small and I have to scroll through everything. So, but I'm scrolling. Yeah, Ghost it definitely helps with like brain injuries and stuff like that. Like there's just a lot of really good cognitive functions, good positive effects for cognitive functions. But all right, we're getting down there. All right. Osiris 3D. I'm 30 and want to go to Ranger or Army Ranger or SF. Which would be better? I just like the Ranger mission to get more. Set. I like the Ranger more. Wow, I cannot fucking talk. I like the Ranger set more, but everyone tells me SF is an older man's game. Thoughts? To be honest, it depends what your end goal is. If anybody who wants to go to Delta, I would say do Ranger. Um, if the highest point that you want to get to is like, remember I'm using colloquialisms here. It's tier two. SF's a more has a wider mission set. So it's not necessarily an older person's game. It is in a way, but there's a lot of young SF guys there. So it kind of depends on what your goal is. But you'd be good with either, and technically you could do both. You could go Ranger and then you could go SF, or yeah, or you could always go to SF and then you go get your Ranger tab, which is not necessarily being a Ranger, but you go to Ranger school. What are some of the good side hustles while being in the military, Feb? Real estate. G Money, have you ever played polo with black person? As a matter of fact, yes. So there's actually a very famous brothers out here. These two brothers. They're known for this polo work to ride program. I'll look them up for you real quick. I've played with them, and they are actually amazing dudes because they came from like I believe the inner city of Philadelphia, and this woman had this like work to ride program for essentially inner city kids, and these two brothers like came up and became like professional pole players, and they're actually awesome dudes. Um, So his name is Kareem Rosser. So that's the guy who's like super famous. He's a very famous black guy who plays polo, and he was like inner city kid. Just a glance. Well, I appreciate the compliment. Fab, do you think about flying the Mi-18 and the Mi-17 in the military? They seem like the coolest helicopters. Um, so unfortunately, that was not an option for me in the Army. Sugar White, what's the lowest amount to start money in real estate investing? You can actually start real estate investing with nothing. Like you can get into wholesaling and basically, and you can do contract assignments, and you don't have to have any money to do it. Nicholas Parkes, what is SOCON? I don't know what that is. Zulu, start out in Ranger Regiment, then go to SF, a lot of Green Beret, former Rangers. Yeah, it's a decent path. Sandra, what's up? How you guys doing? How to deal with toxic leadership? Well, I can talk. I don't know if you guys know this, but the one of the main, I would say the main reason why I ever wanted to start this channel was toxic leadership because I encountered toxic leadership in a tier 1 unit, and it was like I never thought that this would be an issue, but it still exists. You know, it usually it's not as prevalent, but when it does, it was bad. So, but how do you deal with it? Oof. You know, it kind of depends, but you just kind of have to. That's a great question. How to deal with toxic leadership? Well, one, you have to always be doing. You have to be the bigger person. You have to be doing the right thing. But then if like people are like affecting your lives and like screwing with you, you have to like go to whatever, whether it's the inspector general or, go up the chain of command and basically report it and then basically try to be like, hey, this is a problem. This is affecting people. Have your ducks in a row, have your evidence, and then address the issue because, especially in the military where it's a very insular society, you're not going to, it's going to be hard for, like some people can get away with toxic leadership, because they have everybody who's in charge, like, maybe they're all on their side and stuff like that. So. Sugar White, best and worst things about Fifth Group. The fact that it's located in Clarksville, Tennessee is probably. And then, it depends on, like I talked about it, this with Seventh Group. I just think that, well, obviously there's a lot going on in the Middle East, so there's always that for Fifth Group. But yeah, I'd probably say the worst thing is Clarksville, Tennessee. Military towns, like big military towns, like the towns that, like, they basically that pop up around military bases are not usually the greatest places. My girlfriend left me and I didn't chase her. What should I do if she comes back? Just be like, hey, I appreciate the, thinking of me or wanting to come back or whatever it is, but just say no because trust me, you never want to be somebody's second choice. Because I kind of, because I had a relationship up to about a year ago, and if she was ever to come back, the answer is no, because I'm nobody's second choice, and neither should you be. Find somebody who's going to make you their first choice. Yeah, Fab, you're kind of spot on the money. It's very backstabby. Um, but we'll get into that more when I retire. What's your favorite whiskey or tequila? I can actually answer this. Let me just double check. It's a whiskey that you can only get from Texas that I've tried that I just absolutely love. Lone Star. I really like. It's a Texas bourbon whiskey called Lone Star, and I'm a big fan of it. But unfortunately, I don't live anywhere because I live in Virginia. I don't live anywhere near. Um, so, all right. Goodbye, sir. I don't know why people think they can comment like that. So, all right. So we've got this list. So we're talking about live stream activities. So we've got reactionary videos. Got the Lioness, Terminalist, Dark Wolf. Let's move that. Okay. Doing a breakdown of helicopter crashes. How soft training in real life. Oh, person of interest, more reaction videos. Evaluate different soft prep programs. Discuss more workout and nutrition and basic educational investment opportunities. Basic educational investment information. These are live stream activities, and we'll put this as share screen, so I can actually kind of give you guys a visual representation of what I'm talking about. I'm going to do keto to lose the last stubborn 15 pounds. My mind section is my toughest spot, and I just can't seem to get rid of it despite hard workouts and tracking calories. Thoughts? All right, so you're saying that, so Gakko Joggins, you're saying that you are in you say you're doing hard workouts and you're tracking calories, all right? What if you're tracking calories? Are you in a calorie deficit? So are you saying that you are not losing weight, but you're in a calorie deficit? Is that what you're saying? Brianna Douglas, how you doing? Sugar White, are you leaving Virginia after you retire? I am not. As of right now, I'm staying in Virginia. So, Iron Dragon, fasting helps. Yes, it can, but it's like a temporary thing that you should be doing. You should not be fasting all the time, for various different reasons. Because you can't fast all the time because your body is extremely adaptive, and it's a short-term thing that you can't maintain. You can't maintain a fast for too long. Do you have any hacks for managing college while having a career? I would ask, okay. Do you have any hacks for managing college while having a career? It's time management. All of it's time management, because, and I've done this before, you'll be on doing something and suddenly I'll get distracted with something on my phone. Like maybe someone texts me, but while I have my phone in my hand, I will then start randomly scrolling because I'll think about something. And I was like, okay. So something that I do personally that has really helped me is I put a timer and I put my phone away. And I don't touch my phone for like 45 minutes. And that way I only do work because it's so easy to get distracted with everything that's on your phone. Goggle Joggins, yes, I'm in a 500, 800 deficit every day. So I'm going to be honest with you, brother. If you are in a 500 to 800 deficit every day and you're not losing weight, you're not in a 500 to 800 deficit. It's thermodynamics. Like, even if you had like a certain condition that might affect it by like maybe 200-300 calories and stuff like that. If you think, so your BMR, so you actually have to figure out what your BMR is, right? And if you could take a calculator, that isn't what your BMR is. That's a starting point for you to figure it out. So if you then test, right? If you're, okay, also, and this also might be a problem, Gakko Joggins, is that when you lose weight, right? When you were at, let's say you're 250 pounds, right? Your BMR, let's just say it's 3,700. Let's say it's 4,000 for ease of this. When you lose weight, because you're smaller, your body no longer needs as much energy. So you don't have the same BMR when you lose weight. So if you're at 240 and you go down to like 220, or like you go down to like 200, your BMR could drop. And so you have to then continuously adjust. So that's probably, if I had to guess, what you're going is it sounds like you've lost weight, and you said you're struggling to lose the last 15 pounds. You have to adjust because your BMR drops as you get smaller because you don't need as much weight. Like, for example, somebody who's like 160 pounds, their body does not need as many calories as I do at 200. Because I weigh about 225 pounds. So that's a big part. So I would look at what you're doing, and yeah. Donnie, what's up, man? Do you have an opinion on the Robert Greene books, 48 Laws of Power? As a matter of fact, I do. So once a year, I actually reread. There's a couple books that I reread, and one of them is The Laws of Power. Because, and we were actually having a discussion about this last week in sort of this group of guys that I get along, we meet up with like once a month, and we have discussions about, like life and philosophy and stuff like that. And one of them was about manipulation versus influence, because people are like, oh, influence is different than manipulation. Is it though? Is it? It's really, I think that manipulation is influence, and but it's a way to get you what you want, right? But whether or not it's done from a place of good, that's a whole nother story. But you have to be honest that influence and manipulation are really not much different. But to get through life and how to get people to get what you want, you have to understand how to influence, people. And the 48 Laws of Power definitely covers quite a bit of that. And there's a lot of techniques within there, and there's a lot of real world example and historical examples of how you can have power, which usually involved influencing or manipulating somebody. Yeah, everybody just keep it positive, We're just trying to have a positive community here. Absolutely. Um, what other books do you read every year? So I actually have the list. Let me pull it up. Of the books that I read every year. It's usually about like there's about 10 of them. Let me log into this thing. All right. So, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is a good one. Atomic Habits is also another good one. Um, I just read this year, I read Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. I thought that was pretty good. Whether or not I'm going to add that to the list. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is a good one too. Do you ever wish you stayed in fifth group? No, it was time for me to move on. I wasn't able to. Um, yeah, just I wasn't able to get my waiver approved, and it was time for me to move on. And plus, the fact that I got to go to selection was what I needed. All right, so Yi, I am about to promote you, brother. You seem to be working well with Tejas, so I'm adding you as a moderator. All right, you're now a moderator, brother. So yeah, guys, just be kind to people. It's really not that hard. If you guys have disagreements, um, you know, you can do it in a very productive way, and you can talk about your differences and your differences of opinions. But one, we don't insult people on the way they look or anything like that. And obviously, you guys can't see each other, but like if we ever get into like we start doing reaction videos and we start doing things, you start basically talking shit about because people the way they look, that's like a no-go. So, but anyways, back to your question, Sugu. um the answer to that is, wait, let me go back to it. All right. All right. All right, guys. Yeah, Teos, I saw that. I removed him. I removed him as the moderator. Yeah. So, well, you're getting yeeted, buddy. All right, I just got rid of him. God, why do people have to be so fucking difficult? All right, Jean-Pierre, on the topics of looks, how much cardio do you do? Tricky balancing act to build muscle while being able to run well. So I don't. So I do think that you have to be able to run well, but to be honest, you don't really have to do it that often. I would say maybe like once, twice a week. If you want to train marathons and stuff like that, that's a different story. But yeah, you really don't need to do more than like 1 to 2 weeks. So that's my personal opinion. And like I'm a decent runner, always have been, but I don't particularly enjoy it. All right. All right. I just fucking got rid of Mr. Yi. All right. Well, I'm gonna fucking call it tonight, but I'm gonna have this whole thing set up for next time. So obviously we gotta be better. I'm gonna trying to make these lives better every single time and not just be me sitting here talking. You just guys having to look at my ugly face. So, but yeah. So I appreciate everybody. I will talk to you guys later, and then I will be putting out the nutritional and the workout videos this week, especially with everything slowing down with Polo. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later.